Hey,
Hey, fine. Yes, how are you? How are you doing?
doing good. Sorry, I'm in New York and it's hard to get the light right, but oh well.
No, yeah. First of all, sorry for yesterday. I was totally confused about the date.
No problem. It was
Okay.
actually okay because I had an event the night before and I was completely exhausted, so it was actually better to do it today.
That's what's good for both of us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It was a good
yes.
mistake. Yeah.
Okay, Andrea. Okay, first let's introduce yourself. I would like to the audience and to everyone is going to read this and watch this podcast. If you introduce yourself.
Oh, sure, sorry. Yes, I'm Andrea Hiott. I'm a philosopher and I've also studied or have degrees in other fields like neuroscience and urban planning or heritage. But I'm basically thinking about what mind is and connecting it to this part of the brain called the hippocampus, which is about movement. And I also host Love and Philosophy because a lot of this is about care and taking care seriously as a powerful thing. And all of that work actually relates a lot to technology because I also have some training in technology and I work with a lot of ways to develop technology that would be helpful for our cognition in the ways that we move through the world.
Yes, actually, I was drawn to your chapter because it changed the normal discourse that we hear about AI, how to embed love and care. It's like to talk about love and AI that it always sound cold and extractive
Yeah.
was clear. So it's like why you we start by telling us the importance of how did you see the importance to embed love and care in the AI conversation?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. It's actually probably the most important thing we could think about right now, but nobody's really thinking about it because we have this amazing opportunity to we have a new tool and we can think of it as like a vehicle, but we have to orient it. And right now, we are not orienting it towards care and connection with humans, relational, ecological connection. Instead, we're kind of worrying about this loop between technology and person. So I want us to sort of open it up a bit because, as I say in the piece, care is like the movement that we're making through life. So what we care about is actually orienting us. And when we think about that through AI and technology, it becomes really powerful. So what are we actually using these tools for? What do we really care about when we're using them? And when we think about it through that lens, it changes a lot. It changes a lot of the discourse. And it also doesn't, we don't have to choose between technology being bad or good or all these conversations about is AI alive and conscious or not. Those kind of become a little bit different if you start to think of it as a vehicle that we're going to orient towards something in the world rather than just like this back and forth either or disagreement between is it good or bad.
Exactly, especially that feelings actually is one of the major triggers that force us to make action. So we are going to be influenced by AI if we cannot discern which one is automatic and which one has no empathy or care in it. It's going to have replication effects that's going to be damaging in a way or another and backfire. In your chapter, you highlighted an important theme about the difference between either or. We should not take or use AI as it's gonna kill us. It's a rogue AI, or it's gonna be a savior. It's gonna solve our problem. So you make a distinction not to be biased in any of this group. Although we are separated in two groups right now, groups of people are like pro AI and one totally against. We don't have a common sense in between. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's important to understand it's not neutral, of course, but that the technology isn't neutral doesn't mean that it's only either one thing or the other. So that's the distinction we don't make. It's not neutral, but
Yeah.
it's not either or either. There's not two categories that we're putting this in. And the more we try to do that, the more we sort of close off from one another and we call it like a savior or a monster or it's about, good things or it's about bad things. It's manipulation or it's, and all of those things are actually good arguments and good things to talk about. But if we try to talk about them against one another, like we're trying to one
Yes.
side's
We're
going to win,
engaging.
then we have trouble, right? I mean, we're not actually getting anywhere. Again, we're focusing on that loop instead of like looking out at the landscape and thinking, where do we want to orient this kind of where do we want this to go? Um, it's like when somebody's talking with a chatbot and you feel really understood. That's not nothing. That's not, we either say, oh, it's meaningless, or
Yes.
it's, we're talking with God or with some very spiritual, wonderful, conscious being, and what if we just calm down and we understand it's not neutral and that is a meaningful experience, but how is it meaningful? And how do we orient it towards like the rest of the world around us, towards our bodies and the life that we're living, our relationships? What does all that mean, And then we can think of it as relational and as maybe something that's a capacity for connection. It's kind of like the car. I've studied technology and worked on transportation a lot. And, we endlessly can debate whether cars are good or bad. And we have to debate that because there's a lot that needs to be changed. And it doesn't have to be the car that is the
But
vehicle and all of this.
it's
But
not the tool.
the car does connect us to one another. It
Mhm.
does something. And so we have to think about that too with what's happening here with different things like chatbots. Like, what is it actually doing that really matters to us that we're choosing it? And if it's a vehicle like a car, where are we going to go in it? And how could we go there in ways that are not so harmful as currently? So something like that. And that's really about getting beyond those binaries of either or. That's really about, you're not asking, is that real or something like that, but you're asking more like, what is this interaction telling me about myself, about what I care about, or what I'm afraid of in my actual relationships, what kind of work I really want to do, what companies I support, what they support. Is this where I want to orient my care? Because care is power. And that's what you're
Mhm.
giving, to those machines. So I think it's helpful to think of it outside of binary boxes. And I think it's helpful to think about life in general outside of that. But it's hard. Care is
It's
very
really hard.
tense thing. Relationships are very hard. So we have to help one another do this. We have to help one another feel safe enough to think of it this way, because often it's easier to have that either or thing because then you have your team versus the other team, and
It's
we tend
always
to
we and us.
exactly, exactly. You probably see this in your work, right?
Yes, a lot. Actually, the debate is like we don't even have a consensus on certain definition, because culture play a role as well in how we care or how we steer care. Because, like, if you are a man, you were already taught or told to direct your care into this direction, and if you are a woman, you should receive and drive your care into this direction. Otherwise, we are going to receive labels and name you are this and you are that, and it puts a lot of weight and pressure. And before even AI, we did not solve these issues, like this dilemma that we are dividing people by names or labels. If you are doing this, you are this, or we are boxing already, and it's causing problem. And AI is amplifying that. So actually, you're part to defer to use AI as a tool and utility, or I'm going to use the word as a vehicle to drive to take you from one point to another. It's something very very useful, but to take it as dependency is actually the problem that we are actually seeing, and this is going to cause damage, especially with the new generation that they are growing in. Not AI atmosphere, but it's like in technological atmosphere, pushing them toward to be more optimized, to be more robotic or more automated. So they cancel a lot of feelings. They didn't have the time to feel, to sense,
Mm.
because they didn't question what is happening. They taking it and following, like mimic.
Yeah.
um I write a lot about Rene Girard. He has a he created the this statement, mimic society, and actually we are. So he say we replicate actions. And in your chapter you mentioned that LLM, actually all the model are a pattern recognition of us, of our habits, of our personality. So how can you help people, or like what do you want to deliver your message in how vulnerable can be manipulated by a model, because it just replicate us. It doesn't mean it understand us, it replicate us.
Yeah, those are all really great points, and I also like René Girard and that idea. I think what's coming to me right now is that the idea that we are mistaking the map for the territory. You've probably heard that, but,
Yeah.
I think that's important here, and also really I'm coming from embodied cognition. I talk a lot about cognition. Even though I studied neuroscience, I actually think cognition, our mind, thinking is a bodily action. And so when you start to think of it through those patterns you raised just now, or even just through what an LLM is in terms of like the level of statistical patterns that are operating there, then you start to realize like, okay, we're sort of habituating our bodies in certain ways, and in certain environments, and we're not really thinking of it like that. We're, and we're also kind of confusing the map for the territory in the sense that because language is so important to us and it cues so many old habits from our whole life. So when we're interacting with language, even when we watch a film or we do text messages, but especially when we do chatbots, we're actually kind of creating a world that's based on all other interactions we've ever had because the language represents that. And so it's cueing certain habitual bodily responses that were actually built through relational environmental action. But we confuse that and think it's happening in that moment, but actually everything's cumulative, so we're bringing our whole life to this, and then we're sort of reading that in, and if you do that and don't notice you're doing that, you start to feel very numb, and it starts to kinda leak backwards, and you feel like your life is becoming a bit closed, narrowed, and even your own because you're kind of you're confusing this very limited, narrowed interaction, which is wonderful and incredible, but also not, actually interacting that's bodily and sensual and creating able to create habits that are gonna be helpful for the world unless you notice it and put your awareness on it and think about it that way. So, it's more like an interface that you're kinda tapping into that's, shifting your bodily habits. You have to be aware that you're doing that, and you have to think, "Where do I want this to orient? What am I actually trying to do here with this, model? Is it gonna help me create some great technology that's then gonna do what? Is it gonna help me with my conversational patterns? And then towards what? So what do I really care about in this interaction?" Again, you're coming back to that and really thinking about it like that.
Mm. Yes, I totally agree. And you mentioned something very important, that communication carries a lot of cues. And
Mhm.
cues, for example, in my culture, we use a lot our hands and our face and even our body in movement in our communicating style. So if you're in front of me, you will you will literally understand what I'm saying from my tone, from my way of communicating, from my hands and everything. But it's like it's not just literal. It's not just AI is missing this part because it doesn't see me. It doesn't feel me. So even my communication with it is going to be based on the training model. It's going to miss something, and this is, can create the emptiness. It's like we see all the platforms of social, they backfired, and now instead of bring us together, they increase loneliness between us and even increase mistrust and doubt. And it's we see lots of bullying, lots of adolescents are actually suffering from this one. And AI can amplify this part if you did not correct it properly because of this missing, because it's probabilistic, it's deterministic, it was trained and totally biased, not neutral, as you mentioned, and it can really affect us. So I was like, do you have any like not a tips or a framework to help people to discern? It's like when not the question the output, but the question what they are feeling, what they are reciprocating from a chatbot.
A lot of it has to do with your attention and just noticing. So a lot of times I love what you said about gestures and the way we interact because actually we are using these representational words and language, with the chatbot, but we're reading into it often all those gestures. So if I've talked to you a lot of times and then we're chatting text messaging, I'm probably imagining you doing what you do. You know,
Exactly.
I'm not thinking about it like that, I'm not noticing it. But, we actually have so many different ways of communicating in different languages that we're reading into the language, but that we're actually missing. So our body's actually repatterning without those, even as we're sort of reading them into it. So that's very hard. But I think attention is really like where to start. Asking yourself, what's the care oriented towards in this interaction? Like, what do I really care about that's happening here? What do I really want from this interaction with this, in this technology? And sometimes it's very simple, right? It's to do a task, and that's fine. But you have to notice where your own attention is and what you're trying to get from it. If you're trying to get some kind of, I mean, I think it's very easy to just want to get answers or be told that we're okay, or things like this, like, right, and people are starting to manipulate that in very, interesting ways because they can, maybe not even on purpose, but you have to sort of notice that kind of stuff and notice it that it is the technology and that you break out of the trance, I guess is what I'm saying. The same kind of thing you might wanna do in real life too, right?
It's
Because
true.
often we're stuck in our thoughts and we're not really kind of noticing our body in the world and what really happening. And AI and chatting with LLMs can sort of help us do that, sort of moving from that transaction to the relational, noticing when it's a transaction and letting it be a transaction, but not mistaking it for a relationality. So
I
that you have to
completely.
note it. You have to be attentive to be aware of that difference, right? Does that make sense
It's
to you?
Yes, yeah, of course. I totally understand, but it's like I have a question for you because we agree that LLM are pattern recognition and they mimic our behavior and it's trained on our things. But in reality, we have like bad actors. We have psychopaths who know how to manipulate you even with work. If work can actually affect you, can make you go to the moon or cloud number nine, and it can put you in depression, especially with women, adolescents, teenagers. These vulnerability actually exist from childhood. It's whether you are traumatic or whether you're not. Some people are not immune to be strong emotionally and mentally. So do you see AI in a scenario that it can create a psychopath or manipulate people in the same way real life happens? A psychopath controls someone?
Um, I mean, yeah, of course. I think any technology can. I wouldn't say the technology itself creates that because we can't isolate again. It's that either this is a whole pattern, right? All of this isn't just appearing as an LLM. It's coming from people who created it and oriented it and were aware or not aware of what they were doing. And then it's also about who's interacting with it and what they care about. Because if a person is already going to be wanting to hurt people, they can use this technology to hurt people for sure, you know? So
You
again,
have
it's like it's all complicated in that way, and so just as it might amplify the ability for our good relations, it already has. I mean, let's not be crazy, right? We see that it makes people have trouble, mental trouble, so that it can easily be manipulated, and it already is. I mean, we have no question that these tools are being used in all sorts of ways that we have to be on guard about. So I think that's why that attention is also very important, and also having groups of people that like the She Writes AI community where you can actually talk about this. You can share what's happening. You can see what other people are thinking about it. You can learn because we can't all be experts at all of this stuff, but we can
yeah,
help each other do that. And that community in that way becomes much more important. Real interaction, able to know the people you're working with in some way and trust them, and make sure that you don't get carried away in the scheme of it. You know, that's also about asking what you're really caring about because what you really care about can be manipulated. So it's good to
yeah.
know what you care about, not just
Your
be led
vision,
by it.
your priorities, and what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life, loved ones, and whatever. Unfortunately, yesterday in Egypt, we had an event or an incident that shook the whole country. A woman suicide life, and she killed herself in front of everyone. And until the police came, she was already dead in front of her own kids. So the problem is like she was talking, she didn't. It's not about theoretical, but it's like the fact that she didn't find someone to reach out to, and all these people who were in life and didn't do anything. Even her neighbor, like she was in a building, and she jumped from the 13th floor, and she waited 1 hour, talking, pleading for help, and no one stepped up.
Oh.
It's actually what is shocking me and saddening to see a struggle. Yes, it's it is not about it is the abuse. I'm not going to say it's AI or a chatbot. I'm not going to accuse something, but it is actually the dynamic that was forced for us. We were not ready to adapt it. We were not trained to how to absorb the reaction or question things. we as a human have needs. I need to be heard. I need to be listened to. I need to find a hand or a corner to, to feel safe, to be soothed. And technology is forcing a synthetic relationship between people, not just AI, but all interaction. And this keep people totally more vulnerable
Yeah,
to
that's very
being
sad. I
needed.
heard about that. I'm sorry to
Yes,
hear.
yeah. It shook us all, and no matter whatever her trouble, the fact that she stayed 1 hour, and no one even from her neighbor knocked at her door, and her kids are crying and screaming,
Oh,
7
that's so heartbreaking.
and, and 10 years old is like,
Oh,
and she's jumping, and it's saddening. It's telling you like, we have a generation that is totally vulnerable, not just from bullying. They are not adapt or ready, or they didn't receive enough parenting or enough experience to make them emotionally strong. They might have the skills, they might have the knowledge, but emotionally and spiritually, they are broken. And I don't know if AI would amplify this wound or heal the gap.
well, it's up to us in a way. We have to demand that it thinks about these sorts of things and that I mean, I see this as something, as you said before, it's so deep in our humanity that we wanna be cared for and that we can get into these states where we feel very alone or misunderstood or, in some kind of pressure that we can't deal with, afraid of the future. I mean, these are the most human feelings that we have, and we all have them, no matter how rich and successful we are, I promise. And, even some people who are the most I was, thinking about when for some reason there's, Olympic athletes, they have a lot of trouble with stress, and you would think, "Oh, they're so successful," but actually they struggle a lot. So, sometimes the higher performance you have, the more you need care and the less people think you need care because they think, "Oh, they must have everything," or a mother like that, it's like someone's probably all those people are probably thinking somebody's gonna help her. She's probably got someone. And it's like, how could we create technology that alerts? Like, if something like that is happening, how could we alert someone to come to her? How could we, have
You
some kind
receive
of
your
way.
cues. Like, it doesn't happen from a sudden. It's like she might be, her cry out comes in many formats or many times, simply, and no one listen or no one cares. The problem is like, here my next question is accountability, which is actually because I work with cybersecurity, and we don't have time, we don't have policy to guardrail, but and when it falls, accountability if we were manipulated, or we are only concerned about privacy if someone extracts your data. But how about if you were manipulated? If someone forced you, in a crime, if you were forced to do a crime, you will be you're not going to get the same sentence if you have a full intention or if you are voluntarily doing it. So how can we make accountability of a chatbot influence, or if you train, and we know now for certain it can be biased, it can be controlling, and it can direct your vision and action. Where is the accountability for? Or how can we start a conversation or a discourse to impose or force policymaker do not use AI without policymaker, without understanding the guardrails and accountability?
I think we have to not be afraid to be vulnerable and to hold tension. And the reason I say that is because we have to show that we care about this subject and that we need each other and that we need help and that it's actually a power. This connects us. We can join in this feeling of tension and vulnerability that is humanity, right?
It's true to stand up for each other.
Yes, and we can do that in all areas of society, and with all of our skills, we can start to form, I call it like a care community. A few people have had we've decided to try to do this, right? Just make a little community of people of all disciplines everywhere, just who really wanna do this, and wanna want care to be the foundation of what we're building, the policy we're making, all of that. And that care can be, oriented in a lot of different ways. But what it really comes down to is just being able to listen, being able to be there, and being able to try to create technology that's going to be resonant, which is it's going to actually hear what you need to be heard and actually help someone who can address that find you.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. But it's still, with accountability, we've seen for the first time a case that the judge accused Facebook and Google for actually manipulating. And we're going to see the same course with AI, with chatbots, especially those who are like using as a therapeutic, this AI startup. They need to be regulated. I'm not talking about the model itself, about the startup that is focusing in dealing with adolescents or a teenager. Like, what is your take about the country like Spain and Indonesia that they are stopping and banning social media and using it's not for AI, but they are banning social media for teenagers or less under 18.
I
Australia,
think
Indonesia, Spain started.
I think right now it might be the best thing to do because we're so out of control that we might just need to do that right now for the sake of because as I was saying before, and as you brought up, this habits cells that fire together wire together, so to speak, and or when you practice something, it becomes part of your bodily way of being in the world. And as I was saying before, a lot of us developed our whole lives up to this point. Now we're using this technology, but think if you're that is how you're developing your body and your interactions and your habits. Um, this is something we don't understand very well, but we do understand, like in the brain and body, as comparison, you understand that this is creating habits and patterns that are very hard to change without awareness, and that can really be very detrimental if we don't understand them. And we've seen that kids, it's very hard not to get addicted to these phones and to talking to something in this way. We all had dolls or, you know, whatever, something when we were kids that we talked to, stuffed animals,
Yeah.
imaginary friends. And this is just feeding into that natural kind of thing that we have to talk and be understood, but it's a commercial product.
It's true.
Like a stuffed animal is also a commercial product, but it doesn't continue telling you to buy it after you bought it. So we have to really think about what's going on here and, how are we out of our own control in a sense? I mean, we're just going for the prize, but we don't know if we really want that prize. Do we really want that prize? That consumerist prize? So I actually think all these movements, I feel really a lot of respect for people who have been challenging this in the courts, writing books about, this, talking about how it's been hard for them, getting new laws passed because we do need to stop. We need to slow down. We need to break the trance. We need to realize the amazing capacity that we have before us, but we need to together decide how we're going to orient that capacity before, we get in some car that's going so fast that we just go off the cliff, right? This is a vehicle. How do we want it to move and where do we want it to go? We don't know yet. And yet we're all getting inside of it.
Yeah, of course, even like we cannot forget about what happened with Michael Schumacher, who is the best car driver ever, and he crashed. Even he didn't crash actually in driving, but let's talk Ayrton Senna, who crashed and actually in the field. So even your own skills, you can make a wrong judgment, and one wrong judgment will lead to one bad decisions that can take you, of course. It's like
Yeah, that's
can get
true
you out
for us
of
as a
control. Like you
society.
cannot just be depending on a utility or a tool or a vehicle, no matter how you think you are expert of it, it can one bad decision can take you out of it. Have you seen in Japan they have a startup now that is like rent a friend just to give you a hug, not to talk, not to listen, just to come to you and give you a hug. And it's like I understand they are dealing with loneliness and I find it very it's like I'm so happy that people are into it. They are open just not to hug a stranger. I'm not going to promote that, but it's like to feel the need, you know, to feel the need of each other. That you need this touch, you need this softness. That is like you are okay. It's going to pass. Sometimes you just want someone to tell you, hold on, it's going to pass. It shall pass because it will. But it's like you want someone to hold you tight until you cross whatever hardship you are dealing with. And this connection actually has been taken from us, from our life and our need, and capitalism and consumerism, it put a lot of weight on us, and it make us, a bit astray from our purpose of life, like to connect with each other, to live with each other. Now we are more with things. It's like you go to anyone's home, the amount of things is like we are no longer minimalist. It's like you have a lot of things. It's like, okay, I understand with books, I have a passion about them, but it's like some people buy a lot of things. But why? It makes you believe that things is the most important and not people. And the silence, we need to break the silence. So, do you believe that AI can create a movement of resistance that people will say, yeah, I don't want that. I want someone to talk to right now. I'm going to talk to a person, not a chatbot.
No, I don't think AI can, but I think we can by how we develop AI. And so I wouldn't say that AI does. I mean, that's also the map for the territory thing. I know you're not really saying that, but I think it's important even the way we talk about it, because I always do it too. I always think like, oh, the technology is going to do this. No, actually, humans are going to orient the technology to be able to do this. And that's an important kind of shift. Like we have to take the control here in a way, or demand
Same
it
here.
as all these people are. Yeah. But you said
Yeah,
some really interesting things there about the weight and you know that we all need each other and we all need sometimes you really just need support. A
exactly.
a lot of time, like, I mean, a lot of that buying of things is trying to fill that need of wanting to be okay, right? Wanting to fit in, wanting to look good, wanting
Be
to
understood.
cool thing, you know? It comes back to that root of what you just described, actually. It's not about all
Yeah,
that stuff because you just have to keep buying it. Same with the chatbot, right? You have to keep kind of doing this to kind of feel if you're trying to get care from a chatbot, it can feel really good in a way. You're gonna just have that relationship and keep doing that, and it's gonna make it harder to hold the real tension of life. But if you decide, like I was saying before, if you understand, like, what's the real purpose here? The real purpose here is I wanna feel more comfortable in my body. I wanna feel okay with who I am. I wanna connect to people. I wanna, like, feel this amazing planet that I'm on. Find some people who get me, because there's definitely
yes,
gonna be people out there who do, and this technology can maybe help us, like, find each other. And then you can sort of use the chatbot to practice. It's like the car. It's the vehicle that can help you get to those places. But if you're not thinking of it like that, then you're just getting sucked into it, and it's just habituating you to thinking that is the relationship. So do you see the difference? I mean, um,
yeah, I can totally relate because it's like not about from privacy perspective, but it's like chatbot for me when you talk, I want her to tell me what I'm missing, just to understand the signaling, the void, or the angle that when you are in the subject, you are not seeing the whole picture. So sometimes I use AI, I'm not gonna deny it. So but I'm going to lay out the situation so I can have a whole perspective, all the increasing my spectrum of vision to understand why I'm sticking into this angle and I'm not finding solution and I'm not moving forward. So for me to signaling something or to help me see something in a bigger spectrum. But not everyone is doing this because my concern with adults is that we have generations that they take what um, they hear from AI, and we have lots of cases that AI help divorce, increasing divorce rate because it's giving them tips that is not it's not being like feasible or like they are okay, but they are not ready for it. It's not that because it's not plus one. We need to work out about what is actually we need to shorten the gap first and heal the problem and the wound that we created between each other with your loved one or your significant other, whether your mother, your father, or your kin, your kids. This relationship cannot be done by formula. It has to be progressive and it has to come with actions, not decisions. And it has to be dealt with care. And AI doesn't give that.
no.
So it backfire and increase because it will make them more staunch in their positions and lead to a divorce rate. And there is a lot of statistics that is showing that, especially with the young in 20s and 30s, that they marry early, they divorce very rapid. And this is a disruption for family because there is a child. That's another topic to talk about because he's not about to receive enough care. He grew up in a conflict, in two position, simply because they were staunch, because they were fed someone to support a wrong narrative to them. And this is what most chatbot do. It will always comfort you. It will tell you what you want to hear because this is how it was trained. It's not trained to oppose you, to question you, or to guide you. It doesn't do mothering to you or parenting. And this is what we need to tell people. It's just a tool. It is not a magic. And it is not just, a magic wand. You can do, voila, you get a solution. It can work brilliant in data driven when it's numeric, but whenever judgment interfere or there is a component of judgment in it, you need to take control because it lacks that. It doesn't have this emotion. It doesn't have this weight of philosophy of reasoning. It doesn't carry it with it in its own output, although it's factually correct.
Yeah, it doesn't have the bodily sensuality that is actually real mind. I think it's so wonderful what you said because it makes me think of how we also confuse what care is. Care is actually a relational friction.
Yes.
It's actually
And there is no right and wrong in caring
that's
because
not what an LLM is. There's no friction.
yes, and you cannot say this is it. And it has to be done this way. For example, if you have in some cases, and I'm gonna say with children, if one child is more emotionally prone, you will have to give him more care to reinforce him than someone who is really confident and already not an introvert, is extrovert and go out and play and know how to manage and he's led by curiosity. So you will give more care to this, and there is no. Uh, it has to be relative to what you are dealing with, to the person, to the past, to the present, to its future, to environment, to many other factors that cannot be simplified in a formula to yes or binary 0 or 1. Yes, no,
Right,
this
and
or
it
that.
reminds me too, sometimes couples have trouble when one of them gets a therapist and the therapist starts telling them you have to do this and this and this. And I mean that can be good, right? Because maybe the relationship needs to end, but that's not an LLM because when you have a relationship with a real therapist, you also have tensions there too and you're in your bodily kind of acting, they can see you and so I think we have to be really clear that LLMs don't have this caring. They don't have this. It's like telling you everything is true, everything is right that you say, and they're never tired. They're always available. They're always going to tell you what you want to hear. That is not care. And if you're taking that as like a sign of how to be in relation with others, it's going to numb you and narrow what's possible for you. It's like equilibrium. Equilibrium is actually death. When you get into a state where you're completely smooth and just equilibrium as
Mm,
life, then you are no longer alive. So the tension and the friction is what life is, but it's like, how do we help each other handle that? Because as you already showed us, like we get really overwhelmed by that tension and we can't handle it anymore. And that's like that is life. So how do we help each other handle that tension in a way that keeps us able to care at our best, you know, not get overwhelmed? How can something like the LLM help us do that? I think it can help us if we think of it as a tool that's going to help us maybe like let's say I have really trouble talking about how I feel and I never tell anybody how I feel.
mm,
Maybe I can say, okay, I'm gonna have like an experiment with an LLM. It's practice. Um, I'm not gonna ask the LLM, these questions. I'm instead gonna ask the LLM to help me express myself. And I don't want the LLM to tell me who I am or that I'm wonderful. I just want it to help me talk. And then once you start being able to say those kinds of things, you've started that habit. You know you can do it, and you know you care and you know you have care in you. And then it only makes sense though if you then go to the landscape and the environment and the people around you and slowly maybe, you know, see if you can do some of that and find people who might help do some of that.
reach
Uh,
out.
yeah, find communities that are also doing something similar and try to do that. But if it helps you to kind of go, it's the same like using a tape recorder or recording yourself and trying to talk through things. This
Yeah.
can be very helpful because the whole body actually responds and you realize, "Oh, I can talk about this. I can speak like this." And that's an important practice, but only if you're very clear that your purpose and your orientation is to actually do that in your wider relations, not only with the technology or with yourself. So,
Yes, most people is like, I grew up writing my diaries. It was something to
yeah,
stress me.
that
Our own. Yes, it was to be, to learn more vocabulary and everything, and it helped you actually expressing yourself, not in a loud format. And I know lots of people struggle. This is you read them and you learn from them and you see how you grow. It can help you, but you don't want to share it. It's not something that you are ready to share. So chatbot is like one of the things that is like talking to it even in your own bedroom or by yourself doesn't mean no one will see it. In the contrary, it's going to create a persona and it's going to be able to, it will make you more vulnerable. It's not like I cannot say AI chatbots replace diaries. Yeah. And I o- I hope that is like education is like we need in school and preschool to start teaching children that the human connection is the most important thing, and everything else is like we are the superpower. The superpower is in us, and actually it comes in care. It's like you'll see with the elder or your grandparent, we get attached to them simply because of the amount of care they give us. It's the unconditional love that you don't see it from your mother that is always, scolding you or like directing, or it's like you feel she's against you, she hates you, but she doesn't. This is her way to make you to straighten things. But if, for example, your grandparents, you love them simply because they just want to give you. Is what is their form of care. And actually, that's what makes them special in a way or another. Or you hold a child, and even if you're auntie and you're playing with it, this feeling actually, you cannot quantify it. You cannot calculate its impact because it's huge. It's one simple action or word or even a cookie. Or you cook with, you go to the kitchen and prepare a meal with your grandmother, playing with flour and things, will leave a smile on your face and a memory that can make you give.
yeah,
These things
I hear
chatbot
that.
won't
Mhm.
give you.
Yeah, my grandmother's so important to me. And it's I think it doesn't have to be your grandmother, but, these people in your life,
Figure.
aunt or, other
Yeah.
someone, even if it's not your family relation, but
Yes,
someone who
figure.
lets you be
Someone.
who
Yeah.
you are. They
A
let you be who
person.
you are, and they want you to be healthy and happy and maybe too much even, you know?
Yeah, it's
There's
with
an
elders.
overflow.
Yes, it's their unconditional to give. It's like they want it not spoiling you, but they doesn't think they just want you to be yourself, to be
But
you
I
are
think we
very
could
well.
can we do that for each other? Can we find I mean, I try to talk on, my project with a lot of older people because they it doesn't have to be someone who's related to you. I find that a lot of people who've lived a long life really care about people and really wanna show that they care, and they wanna
Exactly.
spread their knowledge, but we tend to not listen to them anymore or accept that or open ourselves to that. So, like, there's so many grandmothers and there's so many grandfathers, and maybe we can, like, find ways to listen to them and let them care for us in a societal level
To
and
give
hold
them
that
role to
space,
play.
you know?
Yes. To give them a role to play because they feel totally disengaged and actually elderness. It's a feeling more than an age number, not a number. So they feel they're outcasted because life doesn't give you any role. And this was going to take me to a question for you. Now that AI is getting more efficient and we are feeding it more data, we are draining it, and it's going to replace us in a moment or another due to efficiency under innovation. Because this is the next step to do. What we can help, like, to solidify not the identity but the purpose of life. Because working and our role in each other life is very uh, vital to us as a human. If AI takes this from us, and it can in certain situations, not only in workplaces, but imagine if your child is replacing, going to his father or mother, going to be dependent on AI. Instead of going asking for help, he will ask advice. So how do you think this is going to curb actually or steering the wheel toward better relationship with people?
Well, I think I have a little bit of a different opinion about this because I think right now AI is so good at talking with us because it's working on all this material. Um, I mean, aside from the amazing statistical capabilities and creativity, there is creativity in AI, but it's still got this amazing training data that's all of life, right? It's basically everything all humans have ever created that we've represented with language, is kind of put into this. And so right now it does seem like it could do everything without us, but it's actually doing all of that with everything we've done before. So at some point, if we just stop acting and only listen to AI as like AI as our parent, AI as our friend, AI as our entertainment, it's incredibly boring. And I think we go into that equilibrium state that I was talking about, which is death. And so, what do we care about? I mean, to come back to the question I started with, do we care about bodies being alive, relational, being able to not judge each other so harshly, open spaces where we can like explore all these amazing possibilities of life that we hardly even see right now? Can we think about technology as a way to, like, do that, help us do that better, help us care better? Can we stay rooted in that primordial kind of tension, but understand that it's a power, that when we care for things, that's power? And even more importantly, be kinder to other people. Don't internalize these patterns of judging each other immediately because we all internalize this judgment. But how can we, start to change those kind of habits and want our technology to support that sort of space, that space beyond either or that actually is about that purpose and meaning that you brought up? Because what is a purpose and meaning? I mean, I think it's life itself is purposeful, is meaningful if we can notice it and be attentive to it and help each other. Because for life, for some people, is very hard. Life for
Yeah.
other people, it's hard for everyone at some point. But if we start to think of life as something we're sharing and that we can help each other because we all have different skills, we all have different bodies. If we think of that as a wonderful thing, like we all have these secret mysteries that are our
Complement,
lives and
complement each other.
share or
Compete with
acknowledge,
each other.
yeah, then that relationality becomes the most important thing, not the technology. The technology
Uh,
becomes the way we can be in our bodies better and in the world better and more with more excitement, more motivation. So I don't think it's gonna actually replace us unless we are just exhausted and we narrow ourselves into that equilibrium state, which could happen because there is so much overwhelm and there's so much possible technology. But I really believe in us as humans. I think, you love your grandmother and so do I. I love my dog. We love our kids. We love our families. These things are hard, but it's where the meaning is, right? When I look back in my life, the meaning is those moments, or maybe I'm walking alone in the forest and some beautiful moment I remember. Maybe I'm reading a book that someone actually wrote based on their actual experience. I identify with it, opens up something for me. These things I think are the most important thing, and I do believe we're gonna realize that because the other way is just very narrowing and deadening, in my opinion. I think it will really feel like that over time. I don't know what you
it's,
think.
no, I totally agree. And actually, Sarah in it, in her chapter, she talked about the igaki and how can there is an iris to create emptiness. And actually, it's we need to fill this one. And she actually aligned with you in about care and empathy and love, how to inject them is like or to integrate them to make them a vital component and actually not an extra or not a luxury. No, it has to be embedded from the start. The love and the care, the empathy, the human touch cannot be replaced. And contain technology as just a technology, not any. And I don't believe if dinosaurs didn't kill us, it's like I don't think AI will kill us. We will find a way to rule it out. This is I believe in humans. I do. So do
We can
you?
even find a way to make it help us make it better, I guess, I mean, if we wanna be really idealistic about it, we could. But I love that, what you brought up with Sarah, and I think that's really important, and the more of us that can do that and talk about that and also not think. I use the word love in philosophy, and that's a hard word for some scientists and philosophers. But I think we have to realize it's a hard word. It's tense. It's like, gosh, like this is real life. It's not some sweet fuzzy thing that's commercially sold to you.
It
We
is
have to
true.
realize that too, and then help each other kind of, think about that and what
Yeah.
technology is orienting that towards.
I believe that the resistance that will come from AI is going to be beneficial to us because it's going to bring us to more to us. It will make us more connected because people like, I don't want this. I want to have someone. I want to be heard by someone, not a device. And it can be actually one advantage of AI, one thing that technology will help us to get better and bridge us together, actually. Maybe it will tackle the taboos and the questions that we were ashamed of or we were kept silent, not allowed to discuss it openly. AI will bring them up to the surface. And I think that's good because we need to heal with our problem, not to keep them because we have been carrying generation over generation. So, yeah. You mentioned you study neuroscience, and this is going to be, I'm not going to be longer than that. Do you see any effect from or any cues that you can help someone if he's using LLM, any model that he's being manipulated or his vision is driven or is being directed? Like, um, do we receive or do we not get notification from it, from our body, our guts, our feelings? Do we receive that?
Well, I mean, I don't have to speak. I'll speak as a philosopher and an embodied philosopher on this one because you can. It has to do with that attention, just slowing down, breaking the trance. Like that's a very hard thing to do these days. But try to break the trance between you and this, this light filled thing in front of you, and just sit with your body for a minute. And how are you feeling? And do you want to feel like that? Maybe you're excited, and like that's a good thing, but okay, is that just creating more stimulation so that you stay more excited and get, more addicted, but with no purpose, no meaning, no actual possible kind of creativity or satisfaction of that? You start asking yourself these questions, actually. You start asking, like, "Is this tool orienting me towards actual living connection? Is it actually making me feel healthy, or do I feel anxious?" You ha try to get clear about that, about how do I feel like I'm being cared for on a level that's not just telling me what I wanna hear, that's actually frictional?
Yes, or it's
What?
just a transactional. Yeah, but this comes with experience. This is very hard to teach a teenager or even someone in his early life in 20s. This comes with experience because this is emotional strength and conscious on what of understanding yourself, what you are dealing with, understanding your body cues. It's not going to come easy. It's going to be, it has to be a learning curve. The problem with AI, it's enforced with too much speed that we didn't have time to be ready for it. We are taking it like, it's like a thunderstorm that just dropped and we have to deal with it. So we didn't have the time to absorb it, to,
Yeah,
to receive it.
taking the time. And also,
Yeah.
I think it's okay that it's hard. Yeah, it's gonna be hard for teenagers. It's gonna be hard for us, not just teenagers, to do this, but that's okay. Like, that actually is a good sign. And it's okay if it's a little tense to talk about and if it's a little uncomfortable to try to do it. But trying to notice what's going on with your body and shift it and not get into those moments where you're just completely absorbed and carried away, where you're doing like, dark flow, as they call it. Um, go touch the grass, as they say, and and find community of real humans to talk about this with, even if it's, these kinds of groups. That I think is something to do. It's a kind of actionable attentiveness, and just thinking of yourself as orienting, and what are you orienting towards, even when you're using your technology, and noticing that, if something feels addictive, that's actually not who you are. You can look at that, action and see if you really want it or not. You're not your thought and you're not these habits, but you have to notice them to change them.
Exactly. Okay, we have a question from someone actually, Harshal. It's like I'm gonna read it as it is. I'm not sure if you can read it yourself. If you have trouble talking about things and you never tell everybody about how you feel, is it going to be awkward if how you feel ends up as a front page news every day? Push for salt. Like, do you wanna address that?
I think it's a good point because
Mm.
we have to remember these are commercial products, and we don't know what's happening with all this stuff. Um, but I think you can the larger point, you could do it with your journal or whatever, but you don't have to do it in an open way with the chatbot either. It doesn't have to be, it can be more just about learning how to speak about what bothers you. I don't think it's gonna I think we have to have a lot of controls about this, and there's a whole other conversation about how this should not be a problem, and we should not have to worry about this, and we should use Web3 so that everything could be encrypted and we can have our own little, you know,
Yes. You cannot
safe
be
space.
isolated.
But that's a whole other conversation. But just for now, use the incognito version. Can
With
uh,
the incognito, they can no, no, it's not a
still gonna be
solution.
recorded.
Yes, it will be
Don't
recorded.
use incognito.
Even with the incognito, they would find a way to identify you. The problem is we need to understand our limitation. AI tool as well is limited, and we need so is the human. So we are all vulnerable. We are not a perfect. We are not angels. We are not demons. We are actually a mix of both. Our habits actually mimic both angelic and demons, but it's embedded in us, and we need to understand this limitation to shield it. First, we need to understand it. Second, we need to shield it. By shielding it is we need to protect ourselves. Protecting yourself, understand your tolerance. Are you okay in sharing these things? Are you okay to be exposed? If you are not, if the answer is no, don't talk to them.
Very
And
good
it
point.
has to be an individual decision. It is not going to be generic. You calculate your tolerance on how much can you handle being exposed. Can you handle the oppositions? Can you handle the bullying? Can you handle being a meme? And now we are virtually naked. It's like anyone can tag you and you cannot even stop it. Anyone
It's
can
very,
take a picture of
yeah.
you and use a deepfake. How can you handle? And
But
upon
also,
this
how can we help each other handle it and not take it seriously when we see it being
yes,
done to other people, not condemn them. And
yeah,
also, when I
we
was
have
saying,
them, but
yeah,
sensitivity exists. And this is a limitation. It's like if you are
that's it.
sensitive to this,
Okay.
being sensitive, even to food, it's like if you are sensitive to peanuts, you need to remove it from your life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are
Find
dealing with
find
repercussion
find
of it.
those. Yeah.
Yes. So if you are sensitive in receiving even judgment or receiving or your social image, you don't want to be presented as nice, as the helper, as the fixer. You want to be fit in this mold. So ask yourself this question, and whatever the answer is, yes or no, this is actually determine what and what not to share with AI.
And also realize it's a process. It's gonna be hard, and a lot of us are online now, and we're trying to decide, like, how public do we really wanna be, and, I mean, for a long time, I didn't do anything publicly because I just didn't want all that. But you learn how to be strong enough not to take it all personally, and you
Yes.
learn how to be careful, as you were saying, to know what your limits are and not go over them, but still take risks in the way that are gonna is gonna be beneficial for you. It's not that you just go lock yourself in a dark room and never talk to anyone. But you start to find communities. Sometimes you might need to rest, but you start to find communities where you can trust them, and you just go slow, and you find the ways that feel right for you, but also kind of letting yourself push against the edge of that a little bit too. Don't um but
It's
in a
true.
very safe way, in the way that you said, and always and also just realizing people can be really cruel, as you said. They can be wonderful and they can be cruel, and we have to try to it's very hard when someone is cruel to you, even if they don't know you. And it's okay, let it be hard, and then realize this is your fault, it's that person. Let it go. Find some
Yes.
people to talk
Let it go.
about it
Yeah.
with,
Yes.
you know?
Not to detach.
Yeah.
The learn of detaching is very important. But again, it's like everyone is different, and our tolerance is different, our capacity is different, our sensitivity is different, and this is actually will determine If you create a matrix, listen, put them even on a paper, write them down, and see what you can. Don't be told. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Just believe in yourself and start slowly and grow. It's like this is how you're going to be having. I'm not gonna say crocodile skins, but it's like to be strong in
Yeah,
dealing with, and it
you
comes
do
with
become
time.
stronger. But you do it through caring. The tension is part of it, right? You learn how to hold it, you learn how to help others hold it,
Yes,
and
to know yourself
yeah,
first, to accept it, to accept its limitation, your vulnerability, to accept our weakness, to accept our need our desires, to have more. This is all not a bad things.
I was
Actually,
about to say, not only accept it, but it's actually wonderful because it connects us. It's why we're human. It's a
exactly.
real power, right?
Yes,
Evolution itself is built on these kind of so-called weaknesses. They're not weaknesses, they're opportunities to connect and grow with someone else who can help you. So,
yeah,
yeah, I totally think that's beautiful what you said and very important.
yes. Because unfortunately, culture has been labeled things, ambition is this, greed is that. And actually, there is a silver lining in every one of them. To reach to them, if any excess of them is bad, but any limit within them, they are really helpful and can be actually a tool to make you a better person, to make you happier, and to make you reach your goals and everything. But labeling constrained us in a way because of shaming, and this is another
Nobody is
topic.
a label. And also, as we said before, don't mistake the territory for the map. Online
Yes,
is a map. It's not
I
the
love
real
that.
world. It's not the real you.
I love that.
Nothing
Yes.
that happens online is actually it's like 1% of what you are. So, you are your body in the world, and there's all kinds of ways to explore that differently, even when you have to hold that tension where something like
Yes.
this happens where it's difficult, but and let's help each other do it.
Yes. So let's wrap up. In your chapter, you speak about the either or, and your message is how to find connection beyond technology. So how you want your audience to receive this message? Would you just tell them a tip or a framework to connect beyond technology?
Well, I think, we've been talking about it a bit, but it's just, the difference between finding the pause and breaking the trance and holding the tension, like those whatever practices might help you do that. Some people find meditation or martial art or just going for a walk. I'm a big walker. Like I go for long walks, and this actually the rhythm of the walk really helps me. If I do that, some people like to swim. Something that's like your body is doing it in interaction and some kind of flow of movement. I think is very important for being able to deal with this new world that we're in terms of AI. But also, I see it as a kind of care because exercise or tai chi or meditation is hard, and you
Yes,
learn
the
how to
begin.
be in that tension, and it can help you when you're online because you something comes, you can notice it's bothering you, you can sit with it a bit and let it go. This too shall pass, you said at the beginning. And whatever you can do, it does you have to find what works for you. It could be playing a sport with someone or, just something that's not a screen. Uh and something that's gonna move your body in some way, in whatever way your body can move, even if it's like eye exercises or whatever. Just something that's going to stimulate your body in a different way and help you learn how to hold the tension, because then when you bring it into the online worlds, I think you know what that care is. You know how to care for yourself, because
Yes.
that's a very important thing to do, to be able to hold your own tension and care for yourself. Then you're gonna have a much better, opportunity to do that, interacting with all this crazy technology and this amazing, crazy world we're in right now.
Okay. Is there is anything from your chapter that you want, or a message or a statement you want to deliver to everyone?
I think I've said it. I mean, it's holding paradox. It's care matters. It's community matters. It's you are something special, no matter who you are or where you are. And when you start to care in this way, hold the tension, you start to find that. And don't think of AI as the end. Think of it as the vehicle that you're going to orient towards something in the real world. I guess that would be my main thing. And
Yes, we're going to be replaced. We are still the superpower is in always within us. Just let it manifest.
Absolutely, and let's help each other do that. Let's create
Yes.
spaces where it's easier to to do that. Yeah,
Loving hearing.
like you are doing with the She Writes AI community, so thank you.
Yes. No, thank you. I met wonderful women, and actually, the book cover. We are 24 women who wrote 24 chapters. In every chapter, there is an important lesson. This is I'm trying to highlight to everyone. Um, Different perspective. It's not one. Is that we are a lot, and we are heard. And like this is how we stand for each other.
Yeah, these are the kind of things that matter, that
Yes.
help us, and the
These are the
mattering is real life caring in this way, so I really wanna say thanks to Karen, thanks to everyone, thanks to you, thanks to every single one of those authors who made this happen. It's just the beginning, so and
yes,
everyone
the book
else,
is
start to, like, do this, find some community around what you care about.
one. Exactly, exactly. And for you, we keep mentioning slow AI. I don't know if you are aware of Sam Elingworth. He's actually a professor, and he writes a lot about how to. His newsletter is called Slow AI, and actually he tackle a lot of what we discussed.
Oh, great.
How
Please send it
to
to me.
slow. Yes, I will say I will mention his newsletter because actually he is really really helpful.
Okay, yeah, do mention that. And I
Yes.
somehow didn't get this sent all to my email list. I had the thing unchecked, I see, so I'll have to send it out, but I actually have to go now,
Okay.
but I've loved this, I've loved talking to you, and I really appreciate all the effort, and it's just
Was
been
my pleasure.
wonderful.
No. Let me wish you to go have a good day and thank you everyone for listening and being there. And catch you later. Maybe in another we have another discussion.
Yes. See
Okay.
you later.
Have,
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. Mhm.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.